How's everybody doing? My name is Arlen Schultze, and today I'm going to be discussing with you a little but a lot about intelligent compaction and a innovative method they came up with to compact soils and asphalt. This is going to be the outline of the presentation. We're going to talk about the history, importance of proper soil compaction, what is intelligent compaction, both the pros and cons of the method, where intelligent compaction is used within the great state of Texas, probably the best. I'm going to wrap this presentation up so I can go eat dinner. I'm going to share with you where I received my knowledge about this subject, and then I'm going to test your knowledge a little bit. So stay tuned. This is the history of soil compaction. So 1800, the first soil compactor was introduced. Before then, they actually used sheep and fat cows to compact soil. So I guess you have a lift, you put a foot down, put the cows on it, have them roll in it, stomp on it, do whatever cows do in soil, and it compacts. Then in 1906, the sheep foot roller was invented here in the awesome United States. And at that point, the sheep's foot roller was just a giant log filled with water and sand, about 500 pounds of each, or 250 pounds of each. And then, slap the mule on the butt, get her going, compact your soil. Within the last decade and a half, that's 15 years, a new method of soil compaction has been introduced, and it's known as intelligent compaction. Very interesting, very interesting. So here's a little more information. They put 7-inch railroad spikes on the first sheep's foot roller. Pretty cool. Here we have two diagrams of a soil in kind of its natural state and a soil that has been properly compacted. You can see that for the proper mixture of soil to air to water, you want about 50% soil, 25% air, 25% water. But when you compact it, what you're doing is you're taking out all those air voids. So the advantages of properly compacting soil is it's going to increase the bearing capacity, it's going to increase durability, increase resistance, increase deformation, increase stability. And then, those are all great things. And the things you're going to decrease are actually inversely increasing it, because you're decreasing the permeability and decreasing the frost damage. So when I put in a road, I'm going to want those air voids out. I'm going to want it nicely and compacted so it has all these properties that will ensure longevity within my project. So let me introduce intelligent soil compaction to you. Intelligent compaction, if you thought about it, you probably think it has something to do with technology. It's intelligent, smarter than us. Yeah, well, you're right. What it's doing is it's using GPS to determine where at you're on a project, how many passes have been made on that section of project, but it gets even more in depth. It's actually going to read the vibrations per minute on the compacting drum, and it's going to be able to determine whether or not it's at its maximum density. And that's super useful. So say you're working on a 10-mile stretch of highway and you're working on half-mile increments at a time and stations, yada, yada, to yada, yada. So let's say you have a great day and you get on the roller and you head that way, head back, move over, head that way, head back. Okay, that's great. Well, what happens when you're working on this section, then this section needs a couple passes, so you move over here, then you come back over here. You don't know whether or not you did this, so you just redo it again. what happens is you're decreasing the uniformity of the road structure. And when we're talking about soil compaction, it's key to remember that uniformity is key. You don't want some spots that are hard as a rock, then over here it's pumping, and when a car's driving, it gets to this pump that's, or this spot that's pumping, and it boom hits it with the dynamic load. It's going to cause a huge pothole. You want a pothole in the middle of I-35? I do not. I absolutely don't. So let me just read off this slide. Intelligent compaction is using modern vibratory rollers that are equipped with an integrated measuring system with an onboard computer reporting system, a GPS, and that's allowing you to get mapping along with instant feedback. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Intelligent compaction equipment acts with real-time data, adding force where needed without over-compacting material. So force where needed. Well, you might be thinking, hey, we're doing a stretch of road. The section of road is all the same. It all takes this much base, this much black base, this much asphalt. Well, what you're not seeing is beneath the base and even beneath the subgrade, there are different areas that the operator cannot see unless he has x-ray vision. And if he does, he should not be on a roller. He should be doing something good for humanity with that. And those spots that I'm talking about, they can include utility lines, different soil types. Over here, you may have more granular soil. Down here, you have a cohesive clay. So which one needs more compaction? Probably the clay. And with the intelligent soil compaction technology, the foreman's no longer going to his roller operator and saying, hey, hop on the roller that, you know, it costs $150,000, you cost this much money, and where, or maintenance costs so much, fuel costs so much. Just freaking roll it till dawn. Roll it till it's dark. Stay late if you have to. Just make sure it's rolled. We got tests in the morning. They're no longer having to do that. This roller operator's getting to see which areas need to be rolled more. And then he's getting to climb off at 5:30 and go home to his wife and kids, which is awesome. So here's a mock-up of a section of road that I made. I am not an engineer, I must disclose that. So within this section of road, I want 12 inches of scarified subgrade moisture condition, roller compacted to 95%. I want 5 lifts, 36 inches of granular road base. I want that compacted to 100%. I want 3 lifts of black base because I don't want this road to go nowhere, even though I know it is. I mean, it's just an asphalt and base road. It's gonna mess up, but I want it to be a 30-year lifespan. I'm gonna add 3 layers of black base, and then I'm gonna put 4 inches of top coat asphalt. Say we're looking at 500 feet of road. So the blade man, he cuts down that subgrade, and they moisture condition it, they mix it, they form it back, it's ready to be compacted. The roller operator on this project, he is going to start with a blank screen. And it's going to say you need this much compaction here, this much compaction here. He's going to start rolling. He's going to get that perimeter. He's going to make a pass. He's going to make another pass. The pass he made, he's going to be able to see on his real life monitoring system. He's getting real-time feedback from the GPS as well as the roller. The roller's reading the compaction of the material and how many vibrations it's got. So without this, what he'd be doing, he'd be rolling back, and pretty much giving everything a uniform pass, which is great, kind of, if everything else is the same. But if you have a sewer line running through the middle of the road, you may need to compact that more because it has that void. So it's the um the intelligent compactions being able to send real-time feedback back to the operator so he can see which areas need the attention. The benefits of intelligent soil compaction include it offers the ability to increase compaction of soils and asphalts uniformly. When we're talking about compaction on a construction site, it's key to know that uniformity is near everything when you're talking about compaction. It's going to decrease maintenance costs and increase service life of compaction equipment. With a intelligent system on the machine, for a brand new machine, you're probably looking at about $200,000. So if you can increase the service life of this by half a year, that's huge. That's great. Number three, using intelligent soil compaction, we're going to reduce the cost associated with the compaction as much as 50%. We're reducing the employees' hours, the project schedule, fuel costs. We're increasing the service life of the equipment, so it's all great. Intelligent compaction, it both improves and not deproves, something like that. It deproves the safety. When we're looking at the pros of it, the employee's no longer having to run material over and over till dark, and then he gets off and he's pissed and all he wants to do is tackle his foreman. None of that's happening. Employee satisfaction is going to be much more higher when you're not just running over it to run over it. You think you compacted it enough 3 passes ago, but foreman saying roll over it. No, you're getting that real-time data. You're being able to see, hey, this area is good, but you know what? There's an area over here and an area over here that I need. So I'm not going to waste my time rolling the whole thing again. I'm going to go over to those areas and freaking roll it. It's awesome. And number 5, it's going to improve the efficiency on the project. How? Let's say you have 10 lifts at 500 feet and the section of road's 25 feet wide. The faster you can get that next lift the base on, I mean, the faster you're moving along the schedule. And what do they say in this industry? Time is money. Time is money. Don't forget it. Let's talk about the cons. So I'm going to talk about 4 main cons that I drew my conclusion to that I would be a little bit weary of why implementing this technology within my business, CTX. CTX, we're on the verge. So one of them is the inaccuracy. With GPS equipment, I like to have it within a 10%. So, I'm going out there with my rover, I'm checking my subgrid, I'm checking my lifts. I know it's within 10 or a tenth of a foot. When I shoot it on the level, that's when I'll fine grade it. So there's a little bit of inaccuracy with all GPS equipment, but especially with this intelligent soil compaction, some companies have been reporting that there's a offset of 15 feet. Well, if you're talking about elevation offset, that's easy to encounter. You can say, okay, minus 15. All right, we're back at the grade we should be. But when you're talking about GPS, as far as positioning, it's a little bit trickier. And you don't want to be recording saying, hey, I actually made a pass right here, but it's showing that I rolled over here. So it's going to skew all the data, which if you have someone who's very smart with GPS, not a problem, call them out, get them out there that afternoon. But if not, you're kind of be twiddling your thumbs, and then we get off work. As an owner, I'm going to be on YouTube watching how to fix this and what causes it, but there's just a bit of inaccuracy with it. The lack of knowledge, really, this is a pro and a con, because anytime you don't know something, it should be a great time to learn it. But all operators that operate heavy machinery, they're going to have to be taught the new technology. Some of them like to pick it up. Some of the old bonehead crews may reject it and say, get this off here, which is another decision you're going to have to make as a business owner. Do I send this piece of equipment over here or give it to this new younger crew that is on Snapchat all day that like looking at screens? Another con is operating distraction. And what I mean by that is, so you're on a roller and you have a screen right here and it's telling you what you rolled and you're like watching yourself and you're like, oh yeah. And then boom, hit a freaking manhole. What happens then? Well, hopefully it's a small manhole, the roller doesn't fall in it, but you harm the project. Other things you can harm while being distracted, it's like anything else when you're looking at a screen and operating a motor vehicle. Hit someone, you can hurt yourself, you can go too far, you can go off the side of the road, and who knows? There's just a distraction. Hopefully the operators are going to the end of the pass, they're putting their roller in neutral and taking a look at the screen. Okay, yeah, I'll give it one more pass and then this over here needs 2 or 3 more passes. And anytime you can introduce the project to someone on the crew to help them see the bigger picture, it's going to make their job way easier and way better. They're going to love it. Another thing about working with GPS equipment is oftentimes you get, as I say here, uncontrollable and unpredictable factors that will cause GPS to lose signal from the satellites. So what happens when you have GPS on your equipment is you have a receiver on your machine. You have a couple base stations set up and the base stations, when you set them up, you say, okay, this is your elevation and these are your GPS coordinates. This is your elevation, base number 2, and your GPS coordinates. And then I'm going to have a base station on my machine and it's going to be moving and shooting signals to satellites. Satellites are reflecting the signals to the base stations, and you're able to determine where at and your elevation on a project. So that's really cool. But when it's just something, whenever you add something, you're kind of signing up for another thing to go wrong, So it's really not a con. None of these are huge cons. None of them would break the bank, but let's talk about it. Pretty much when you have the working capital. Within the last decade, private companies have run the cost-benefit analysis to determine whether or not to adopt the intelligent systems within their company. Many smaller companies are being left behind, not being able to yet adopt these innovative strategies. However, larger companies see the results and continuing to invest their capital. So if you're working for Weber doing 100 miles of road on your crew each year, you're probably going to want this. But if you're doing parking lots and you're a smaller company, you run the cost benefit analysis, it doesn't add up, you're probably not buying it. Heavy highway and heavy civil companies are taking the leap faster than others, as such technology significantly decreases the number of resources spent on surveying, testing, and quality control, just to name a few. Along with the larger companies, TxDOT is also adopting the intelligent compaction system for new and reconstructive projects that they perform throughout the state. So TxDOT, they're always doing reconstructive work, put in a new layer of asphalt on a road. They are oftentimes equipped with this technology, and how you'll know if they're equipped with intelligent compaction is they'll have a base on their roller. I always thought it was just a GPS roller. I was like, seems weird. Like, yeah, I get that which ways to, or where you've compacted. But what I didn't realize was that the compact roller is actually reading the ground as it's running over it and integrating that system back into your control box, which is very cool. I'll wrap this presentation up by saying that the methods of soil compaction have increased drastically since the first compactors, which were the sheep and cattle. Can you believe that? A $200,000 piece of equipment is like awesome compared to sheep and cattle. Imagine that. Imagine if you were on a textile job and you had to like graze the cows out there for a month to get 60% compaction. No, not doing that anymore. And I have no doubt that the technology, both within compaction and within the heavy highway industry, it's just going to increase not exponentially, but it's going to grow so fast. I cannot wait to see the new technology, and hopefully I can watch some of y'all's videos and learn more about it. Proper soil compaction is necessary for a successful life cycle of the project. Yes, I want to stress that. Proper soil compaction is necessary for a successful life cycle of the project. And what's priority when you're talking about compaction? Uniformity. You want it to be the same. You want the same product. You want to deliver the same product. Intelligent compaction equipment is possible from these pieces of equipment. A GPS receiver, so that's the thing that's on your machine and it's shooting whatever type of rays out off satellites. They're coming back and going to the base station, then it's coming back to you, and it's positioning yourself pretty much in real time as it's going to get. Control box, this is the box that's taking in the information, reading it like a computer, and then projecting it to you that we can see through our human eyes. So you see, oh, like it's doing all this, and then there's like a line, you're like, oh, that's where I compact it. How cool is that? Okay, now okay, well, I can already see, but I'm gonna do this next pass. Then you do that. Then you do that for 15 days, and then you're able to pull up a real life report and say, no, these are the spots that were compacted. When would this be useful? If there's any problems on the site with failures, your owner says, I don't know if you would say this, but when I was out there, that base was just crumbling. You're like, okay, well, it was crumbling, but I have this report and it's all red. That means 100% compaction. And then you give that to him. He looks at it. He says, well, it was. And you say, okay, well, I got a report. So show me a report of something that you have. Ugh. Oh, some owners. So that's the control box. The temperature sensors are going to be down low on the machine, and they're reading the thermal energy from the material. So this is extremely useful in hot mix asphalt concrete, treating the temperature, giving you that. Pretty cool. I never rolled asphalt, but I know you don't want to roll it when it's cold. So how that would play a role, hopefully someone can tell me. Then the accelerometer is the device within the roller drum that is adjusting the vibrations per minute. That's the accelerometer. As long as a company has the working capital, the pros of intelligent compaction outweigh the few cons in my conclusion. You should expect to see compact rollers equipped with intelligent devices more in the future right here in Texas. Hope you do. And I hope when you see it, you're like, Arlen introduced me to that. I had no idea about that. Learn something new every day. Here are the references that I got the information to write my awesome PowerPoint. Leave a like, subscribe to my YouTube. I'm on here now. This is my first video. Drop a like, subscribe, do all of that. Thank you. Have a great week.